Using ChatGPT, students can easily access resources and information by asking it questions or requesting explanations. While it's true that this can save students time and effort that would otherwise be spent searching through textbooks or online databases, the AI-generated content is not always accurate. Much like the smartphone and personal computer that came before it, there is much talk about the impact that artificial intelligence-powered chatbots like ChatGPT will have on students, teachers, and traditional classroom learning. Students can ask ChatGPT to write an essay on a particular topic or provide written responses to homework prompts. The platform can produce remarkably clear, well-organized, long-form answers to complex questions or topics. A key concern amongst those working in education is the potential for it to be used for writing assignments or for plagiarism. Since its launch in November, ChatGPT has been banned in Western Australia, New South Wales, Queensland and Tasmanian public schools. A key concern amongst those working in education is the potential for it to be used for writing assignments or for plagiarism. Since its launch in November, ChatGPT has been banned in Western Australia, New South Wales, Queensland and Tasmanian public schools. Multidirectional research is taking place in the areas of student-facing AI, teacher-facing AI, and system-facing AI to support educational institutions. In some cases, research is going beyond AI applications in classrooms to focusing on AI learning and AI-human collaboration.
Marriage is a big step in anyone's life, and there is an argument to be made against getting married too early. As any newlywed couple knows, there is a huge amount of financial pressure associated with marriage. Firstly, the wedding reception and honeymoon will cost you an arm and a leg. If you have a chronic disease such as heart disease, diabetes, asthma, or back or joint pain, exercise can have important health benefits. However, it is important to talk to your doctor before starting an exercise routine. He or she might have advice on what exercises are safe and any precautions you might need to take while exercising.
Tesla actually worked for Edison in his early career. Edison offered to pay him the modern equivalent of $1 million to fix the problems he was having with his DC generators and motors. Tesla fixed Edison's machines, and when he asked for the money he was promised, Edison laughed him off and had this to say, "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor." The pair becomes arch rivals. Tesla actually worked for Edison in his early career. Edison offered to pay him the modern equivalent of $1 million to fix the problems he was having with his DC generators and motors. Tesla fixed Edison's machines, and when he asked for the money he was promised, Edison laughed him off and had this to say, "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor." The pair becomes arch rivals. Each tube-shaped microbot is a sandwich of three materials: a graphene outer layer, which binds to heavy metals; a middle layer of nickel, which gives the bots magnetic polarity, so they can be pulled through wastewater with magnets; and platinum inside, for propulsion. Just add a bit of peroxide to the wastewater, and it'll react with the platinum to form water and oxygen bubbles, which propel the tubes along. Domestication is an evolutionary, rather than a political development. They were more likely to survive and prosper in an alliance with humans than on their own. Humans provided the animals with food and protection, in exchange for which the animals provided the humans their milk and eggs and, yes, their flesh.
A young man from a small provincial town, a man without independent wealth, without powerful family connections, and without a university education, moved to London in the late 1580s and, in a remarkably short time, became the greatest playwright not of his age alone but of all time. How did Shakespeare become Shakespeare? When countries assess their annual carbon dioxide emissions, they count up their cars and power stations, but bushfires are not included, presumably because they are deemed to be events beyond human control. In Australia, Victoria alone sees several 100,000 hectares burn each year. In both 2004 and the present summer, the figure has been over 1 million hectares. At the beginning of each fiscal year, funds are allocated to each state account in accordance with the university's financial plan. Funds are allocated to each account by object of expenditure.
Account managers are responsible for ensuring that adequate funds are available in the appropriate object before initiating transactions to use the funds. To some extent, attendance at cultural venues and events is influenced by a person's age and the composition of the household in which they live. For example, those people in households with dependent children were more likely to visit zoological parks and aquariums than people living in single person households. In this course, we will explore how such things as department stores, nationally advertised brand name goods, mass produced cars, and suburbs transformed the American economy, society, and politics. The course is organized both thematically and chronologically. Each period deals with a new development in the history of consumer culture.
Food is one of the most important things you'll ever buy. And yet most people never bother to think about their food and where it comes from. People spend a lot more time worrying about what kind of blue jeans to wear, what kind of video games to play, and what kind of computers to buy. Global Management is a program specially designed to equip students with the knowledge and skills required to become an effective leader in diverse business contexts and varied intercultural settings. The program acknowledges that contemporary markets are increasingly complex in terms of culture and demand, that information and communication are crucial for success. The development of cognitive psychology arose as psychology from different theories, and so began exploring these dynamics concerning mind and environment, starting a movement from these prior dualist paradigms that prioritized cognition as systematic computation or exclusively behavior. In one particular version of the experiment, if the subject recalled a list correctly, the list length was increased by 1 for that type of material, and vice versa if it was recalled incorrectly. The theory is that people have a memory span of about 7 items for numbers, the same for letters that sound dissimilar and short words. A participant is presented with a window that displays circles and squares scattered across it. The participant is to identify whether there is a green circle on the window. In the featured search, the subject is presented with several trial windows that have blue squares or circles and one green circle or no green circle in it at all. Aerobic and anaerobic exercise have been studied concerning cognitive improvement. There appear to be short-term increases in attention span, verbal and visual memory in some studies. However, the effects are transient and diminish over time, after cessation of the physical activity. Exposing individuals with cognitive impairment to daily activities designed to stimulate thinking and memory in a social setting seems to improve cognition. Although study materials are small, and larger studies need to confirm the results, the effect of social cognitive stimulation seems to be larger than the effects of some drug treatments. In philosophy of mind, functionalism is the thesis that each and every mental state is constituted solely by its functional role, which means its causal relation to other mental states, sensory inputs, and behavioral outputs. Functionalism developed largely as an alternative to the identity theory of mind and behaviorism. Since a mental state is identified by a functional role, it is said to be realized on multiple levels. In other words, it is able to be manifested in various systems, even perhaps computers, so long as the system performs the appropriate functions. The action of the machine is determined by the symbol in the cell being scanned and a table of transition rules that serve as the machine's programming. Because of the infinite tape, a traditional Turing machine has an infinite amount of time to compute any particular function or any number of functions. The fundamental idea of psychofunctionalism is that psychology is an irreducibly complex science and that the terms that we use to describe the entities and properties of the mind in our best psychological theories cannot be redefined in terms of simple behavioral dispositions. There may be an infinite variety of physical realizations for all of the mechanisms, but what is important is only their role in the overall biological theory. In an analogous manner, the role of mental states, such as belief and desire, is determined by the functional or causal role that is designated for them within our best scientific psychological theory. The internal contents of propositional attitudes, for example, would consist exclusively in those aspects of them which have no relation with the external world and which bear the necessary functional properties that allow for relations with other internal mental states. The twin earth argument hinges on the assumption that experience with an imitation water would cause a different mental state than experience with natural water. However, since no one would notice the difference between the two waters, this assumption is likely false.